Hello whiskey fans, and it's not the 12th day of Christmas today, but it is the 12th of December, so that means it's time for another Master of Malt Whiskey Advent Calendar short review. Okay, so this is another one that I've never had before. This is that Boutiquey Whisky Company World Whisky Blend, 41.6% ABV. Slightly strange choice on the ABV there, but I do know this time that Boutiquey Whisky Company definitely is a Master of Malt product. So I'm not sure what that means in our expectations, because day one I was quite blown away by the Aerolite Lindsay, but the Green Isle not so much. Let's see if this one can claw it back for the guys at Master of Malt. Not going to say what I think of that. Let's get it in the glass and give it a fair trial. So, apart from the fact that this is obviously, it's blended whiskey, so that's going to be something with grain whiskey in it, and it's 41.6 vol. I don't actually know anything about this, but it leads you to think that there's probably going to be some Scotch single malt in here. As to where the other whiskey is coming from, I have no idea. I guess it could come from anywhere, and unlike blended Scotch, this World Whisky blended whiskey, it doesn't have to be single malt, so there could be bourbon or anything that calls itself whiskey in here really. So that's quite exciting. Let's see how it smells. Now that is really odd and slightly suspicious. Now I really want to know what you guys at home think of this one, but me personally, I would never guess that this is whiskey. Let me know what you thought on your first impressions of this in the comments, but I'm getting really strong notes of gin on the nose of this, something with juniper in it, something quite dry and salty. It really is fantastically dry and salty. Apart from that, it's reasonably neutral. I'm not even getting the usual notes that you would get on a blended Scotch. Normally you would expect vanilla, caramel, honey, coconut, those sorts of things. But it is remarkably close, to my nose at least. It is incredibly close to gin. Let's see how it tastes. A little bit apprehensive on this one. Don't really know what to expect. So that's strange. So I got a little bit of a hybrid spirit here. I really want to know what's in this. There's probably no chance that we're going to find out, other than paying a massive bribe to the people at Master of Malt. But as I said, on the nose I'm getting massive dry, salty, bitter, herbal, juniper, gin notes. But on the palate you're not getting that much of that at all. It's much more caramel, it's quite sweet. It's very light as well, and quite spirit driven. Definitely seems very youthful and quite neutral. As for the finish, it's kind of like a combination between the nose and the palate, because you've got that salty bitter note that you get on the nose, but you've also got an equal measure of the sweet caramel blendiness from the palate. It's all over relatively quickly. You're just left with a rather slightly bitter, quite salty, slightly herbal, lingering note on the tail end of the finish. So that one's a little bit hard to define and hard to judge as well. I was kind of expecting your bog standard sort of blendy whiskey, something a little bit like Teacher's Highland Cream, something like that. I didn't think it was going to be really young and rough and harsh. Definitely wasn't expecting sort of your your bottom shelf supermarket blends. I thought it was going to be something a little bit above that level of quality, but what we've actually got is something really unusual, and that really makes me curious as to what sort of whiskey has gone into this. That huge mismatch between what you get on the nose and what you get on the palate just makes me want to keep trying it, because it's just so unusual to have something that smells and tastes so entirely differently. As for a place on our leaderboard for the World Whisky Blend, this is quite convenient for me, not so convenient for the guys at Master of Malt, but remember that you have still got number 3 on the leaderboard at the moment, so can't be too sad about that. But this one, apart from the fact that it's just so unusual, it's not like anything I've ever had, it's not really to my tastes, and I wouldn't buy a bottle of this, although it is unique and really interesting, and everyone that hasn't had it probably should at least buy a sample of it so they can try it, because it's just so different. But me personally, I think this one's going to be fairly low down. It's going to be down there, keeping the Glenrothes company. But please, I would love to know what everyone else thinks of this one. So I look forward to hearing from what you think in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Movie